Yeah, so a very difficult task to speak to you over lunch, after lunch hour. I'm sure the energy levels are very high, and you are quite distracted with other activities beyond this conference. But nevertheless, I'm glad to be here. I've been at day one in this subject of data in Kenya, walked the journey with the CIO, so I was very humbled when I received an invitation, but seemingly shocked because I'm speaking on a subject that's well covered by the legal fraternity. And since the adoption of the Kenya Data Act, we have a lot of more professionals out there who can tackle this subject a little better. However, I'll be able to put on my best shoe and give you the best of experiences from this journey that I've walked, as I said, as a day one in this country, beloved country of ours. I've been able to have various experiences which I'll leverage on. First, as the founder and CEO of Predictive Analytics Lab, we've been able to work with various organizations, and more specifically financial institutions and fintechs in the area of ensuring that they're adapting to the new realm of data. So I'll be sharing experiences based on that the adoption of the Act, and now what are those kind of gems that we've been able to experience that have been able to create a wave in the subject of that I'm about to speak about. Secondly, I'll be able to cover that in respect to the interactions that we've had, not just here in Kenya, but we are a Pan-African organization. Basically, what we do as Predictive Analytics is we develop strategies for organizations seeking to bridge the data chasm, which is coming from the traditional to the new. We'll be able to share experiences that we've had from our own lab, working on softwares that use generative AI, putting them to speed, ensuring that there's a compliance with the set regulations. And so some of those experiences I'm hoping to be able to inspire you to be able to put on the best practices to ensure that you have the best requisite knowledge and also requirements in place before you start the journey. So I have some giveaways I was given by my team to give you. So one of the things we do is training. So I have some scholarships that I'll be offering randomly to some questions I'll be asking within this, within the course of this forum, within the course of this presentation. Yeah, so my first question will be, who knows the difference between evolution and revolution? I can see the first hand to be up. Mbugua, you have the mic, you can give him.
Check. Evolution versus revolution.
Revolution, yeah.
Where's the hand? Oh, there, okay. And don't say spelling, please.
No, I think evolution...
Say your name and then organization.
My name is Jagithinji.
Yeah.
I think evolution is more of a natural process. Revolution is more of an internal process, a man-made process. I think that's one difference, isn't it?
Okay. Any other attempts? Joe?
Hi, my name is Joe. Evolution is gradual. Revolution is instantaneous or immediate.
Is immediate.
Yes, that's a revolution.
Yeah.
Like the Arab Revolution.
All right, that's good. So any other person with a different perspective on this row? So we have a fair representation from each.
Difference between evolution and revolution.
So that, you know, the scholarship is worth, can I say the value? Okay, I don't want to preempt. Okay, so so you're both right, yeah? But I wanted to anchor that to what I really wanted to speak by funneling it to the key message that I wanted to give you today. Yeah, so evolution, just as we studied in history, is the way that, you know, we metamorphosis as individuals, as organizations, and as entities. Yeah, it's small incremental changes that can't be noticeable in one go. However, revolution is that drastic change, yeah, that happens, and it's inevitable that you have to undergo it. Now, we have transitioned from evolution, now we are in revolution. So revolution is a forced change. And that's the space we are in, and that's the space that regulation plays in every ecosystem. So beyond basically what we will be looking here, just you have to bear that in mind, that we are going to have a forced change. Yeah, same way that you can be able to reflect and look at the previous occurrences of the COVID era, where we were forced to work in different ways. So such kind of events are happening. And in the world of technology, we talk about 3 key areas that drive technology. So we talk about the people, so perspectives about how our environment is changing, how we respond to those environments. DNA is being genetically, permanently re-engineered, things like our attention span. We are becoming more agile, looking at events and following events using mobile. Yeah, so the same way M-Pesa has been able to revolutionize our lifestyle, that's one of the key areas that studies have shown that are creating revolution. Yeah, the other second area is technology itself. We have what we call the Moore's Law, which states that technology changes every 18 months. And, however, that has become much shorter. Every time you switch on or connect it to a new Wi-Fi connection, or switch on your mobile on and off, you'll see your software updating every now and often. All the mobile apps you have in your phones are continuously updating themselves. Why? Because that change is inevitable. So thirdly, and that's the reason why we are here, is about regulation. So regulation is the third pillar that's actually driving the adoption of change. Yeah, so regulation, and these regulations are set of rules which are set to be able to put us into a certain confine to ensure that we're operating within a certain acceptable framework. Yeah. So right now the trending topic is around the ocean gates. And if you've been following that story, you could actually realize that the submarine that was being used to that exploration had not been licensed, so it did not pass the test of the regulators. So we are finding these 3 pillars very important and to drive ahead the conversation of innovation. And such kind of experiences are the kind of experiences I wanted you to embody in your DNA as fintech professionals, so that by the time you go into your workplace, you're not just focusing on one side. So a lot of you have specialties and experiences in creating algorithms, the AI models. You're able to predict who can be able to pay back a loan on a certain time frame. You're able to use new technologies such as geolocation to know who can be able to be given a certain credit risk based on where they're located. Using call data records, you're able to create predictions based on what the behavior of a particular customer is. However, without the set regulations, we can see that that innovation, if it's not bridled, it can go rogue. Yeah, so there are a lot of documentary evidences of industries that have been unregulated, and as a result of that, we've had a lot of infringements coming in from users and such kind of observations. So the Kenya Data Act came, and we participated in that process of formulation, feedback, and a lot of things that we came to realize is as an organization, we have got more opportunities post the Act. So before the Act, it was innovation with fear. Yeah, so a lot of models we used to develop, but there was no accountability. The fear of litigation stemming from our customer coming to say that their data has not given them a more accurate prediction, so we were not covered. Yeah, so we'll be looking at that as a benefit of this Data Act. But so far, benchmarking with the GDPR, and Kenya being the hub of technology, we are actually referred a lot amongst our peers in the region to be able to drive projects in technology. So it was actually cognizant that we needed to have this act in place, and benchmarking it against the GDPR, which is a most closely related market to the market that you're operating in, was a key point for us to be able to acknowledge the efforts made by the government in ensuring that this act came into place. So what are some of these key areas that you need to remember? I'll not read all of them, but this is something that is available to you. Penalties for non-compliance is one of it. Increased territorial scope, yeah, another one. Breach of notification within 72 hours. So how many of you already are certified as data protection professionals? Okay, 1, 2, 3, yeah. So this is a skill that's going to be a requisite for anyone to operating in the technology space. Because of the reasons I gave you, those 3 reasons, it's inevitable that you'll be interacting either as a data collector, data processor, or you're going to be involved in an ecosystem in which one way or the other interacts with data. So it's important for you to gain that knowledge and insights. And one of the ways to provide evidence that you have those skills is through getting a certification that can actually prove and even cement your ability to be able to execute projects that are related to data. Yeah, so this is some of the key areas that we are looking at the privacy regulation in Kenya. I wanted to narrow down now to the more specific. What are some of these importance that you need to put in mind when you're looking at compliance? Yeah. So one of the first one is there are consequences. You know, regulation, when you talk about regulations, always you talk about fear, which comes about through enforcement. So you think about a police person or a court. Yeah, and that fear is what makes us, revolutionize into a new mindset. Yeah, that fear of, being in court or being in a police cell, yeah, being charged against a certain set of rules that you do not fulfill. So that fear is one of the importance of being compliant. Yeah, so we have a set of rules. Those rules have to be complied. So one of the key areas that you need to be observant about, and one should be able to give you that motivation to be compliant, is the fear of, being litigated. So the second advantage is about innovation. So there's one of the philosophies that actually drives this conversation is, do you ask for permission, yeah, or do you ask for forgiveness? Yeah, you rather think about those two, or looking at it from the flip side. So do you regulate before you innovate, or do you innovate before you regulate? Just from the same example that I gave you for the currently trending topic of the submarine, you can see the repercussions that has been created by innovation. So it doesn't really matter how much money you have or how much budgets you have. These tools are there at our disposal. Knowledge is easily accessible. You find countries such as North Korea manufacturing the nuclear weapons with very little resources, yeah, and you can actually build very modern tools just by following courses on YouTube. However, the law has to be there to be able to govern the wildness of our innovation. Yeah, so this innovation again comes in three key areas. So you can look at innovation in processes, so using data. So how your mobile apps that are giving out loans, what is the process of doing that? In that process, have you put in place the second pillar, which is the people, asking for permission, yeah, from the data owners for you to be able to be compliant. And then also on the product, yeah, because I can guarantee you from the process, our organization is 7 years old. We've had increased uptake of our services just in the last 2 years because of the law itself being in place. And you can see that that is actually innovation itself. Yeah, so on your own personal level, there are new emerging career opportunities that are coming, which is in the form of the data protection officers. And this is not a skill that you'll have to learn at the university, no. There's no curriculum for that at the university. So it's an area that you can upskill at your own personal level to see that you're fitting that gap. A couple of courses available locally that can be able to give you that. And then the last part about this is damage of reputation. Yeah, so we are all agile in terms of use of the social media platforms. We always see once in a while the KOTs coming up with a report of a breach of a certain nature, be it someone sneaking a document from a board meeting and sharing it online, to leakages in the payroll. Yeah, so all those create reputations in risk, which affects profitability, or rather the reputation of an organization. So those are some of the key areas that I isolated that have key importance for you to be able to be compliant. Now, what do you need to do to be able to create the best practice for compliance in Kenya? Yeah, so one of the conditions that has been set is the appointment of a data protection officer. Yeah, so this can be in-house or outsourced. So we appreciate the scarcity of talent is still in this area that's still emerging, but there are actually entities that have come up to provide you as a service model for this data protection. Then providing clear and concise privacy notices to data subjects. This is what we call asking for permission. This calls for a review of your internal policy documents, looking at what exactly you have that is the avenue of interaction in terms of the last mile. So be it for fintechs, the app that you're using to give out loans, is a clause where you're able to declare to the customer what you are doing with that data. And then conducting regular data protection training for employees. Very important because, again, the policies are continuing to evolve. Yeah? In the global scale, you'll see new rules coming up. We are now talking about generative AI in the form of ChatGPT. A lot of countries have already applied to block the usage of it by its citizens until new regulations are coming in to regulate how it's used and the outcome of the AI in the usage of the tools that they're using in their in the application of the ChatGPT. Yeah. And then implementing appropriate technical and organizational measures to protect personal data, some of the internal policies that can be done using the data protection policies. So I've got one more slide in terms of the key challenges that data privacy for fintech companies in this country. We experience this limited resources for compliance in terms of people, knowledge, lack of awareness and understanding of the law. Yeah, so unfortunately the ODPC office, which is the Office of Data Protection, has been doing has been doing awareness programs, seminars. The government has been doing some of this. Yeah, so it actually depends where you can be able to plug in to get that knowledge. Limited guidance for the Data Protection Commission, again, because again, it's a funded office by the government. Some of these resources may not be enough to trickle down to all of us. And then difficulty in obtaining data from data subjects, again, because we have a high penetration of mobile phones in Kenya, and this cuts across all the digital divide. So you may find it hard to break down this knowledge and this information to the very granular of the customers that you serve. So some of them may be vague, some of them may be a bit advanced, but creating that balance is a key challenge that we've come across. Yeah, so how do you ensure that compliance with the data protection, creating a data DPIA, that is a data protection impact assessment, which has to be done annual, implementing a data protection policy, yeah, that has to be in place, implementing data protection by design and default, and then ensuring cross-border transfer, which is lawful. Yeah, so in summary, we're talking about legal and compliance, data, and technology. Yeah, so all these three are working together to ensure that you've got the best output in terms of ensuring you're compliant with the Data Protection Act. So that's my presentation, and any questions which were there? Back to you, Mbugua.
Asante sana. If you've got any questions, could you just raise your hand or move to the mic on the side? I have a question for you before you leave the stage.
Yeah.
We know the cost of non-compliance. You know, the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner has said,
Yeah.
you get a strike one, it's this, strike two is this, this how much. There's some guys who've already been billed up to 5 million Kenya shillings. But what is now the cost of compliance?
Yeah.
Do you have, from your experience, is there a benchmark number that we and those online could work with to say, you know what, we need to get our game together. Let's figure out where we're getting this budget. Do we have a number?
Yeah. I think that's a good question. Right? So also philosophical in some way, because I think the cost of return of compliance, return of investment rather, the return of investment in being compliant could be measured against the missed opportunity cost for you not complying. Yeah, so maybe some parameters could be set which match the risk areas. Yeah, so areas of interaction with client data, skill level of the employees internally, or the ecosystem where you're storing infrastructure. All those areas, once an audit is done, there's, and actually, I can give you the straight away answer. There's now a budget. Organizations are setting aside budgets planning for litigation.
Okay.
So when you save that budget, now it becomes a cost of compliance.
Okay, makes
Yeah.
sense. I get what you mean by, you know, it's philosophical. So
Yeah.
do you have any questions from the room concerning, do you mind making your way to the mic, please? Please tell us your name, organization as well.
Hello.
It's such a far route. My name is Alice Njomo, and I would like to ask about the upskilling that you talked about.
Yeah.
What are some of the institutions you would recommend?
Yeah. Okay, so we have like 3 different tiers of institutions. The institutions which are like academic. So we've got like, I'm not doing marketing here, I hope. It's for knowledge. Yeah, but you have like the Strathmore, they run programs on data protection through the iLab. You have the the Kenya School of Government, again, which runs our programs, but primarily focusing on government institutions. And then you have the third tier, which is labs such as ourselves, who have created programs, of course, with the guidelines from the Office of the Data Protection that can give you that alignment. However, there's still work to be done, because as I say, these are subjects that are still evolving. If you do courses from, for example, the EU, they'll be a little bit more advanced, looking at features. And right now, this year, the biggest thing they're talking about is law around generative AI, which was non-existent last year, so after the advent of the ChatGPT. But for purposes of compliance, there's a curriculum which has been developed by the Office of the Data Protection. They're actually enrolling training institutions to be adopted to that, so that there is uniformity in the set regulations which were passed by Parliament. So anything additional that will come of that will be out of interest. And perhaps maybe if you're working in an organization that has cross-border dependabilities, you can now look at courses which are coming from other outside institutions.
Fantastic, Tim. Help me appreciate Tim from Predictive Analytics.